All right, gang, this is Hexy, and we just finished up Baptism by Fire. And let me say something. This might have been the most awesome final turn of a game that I can ever recall playing. This was really, really a great. Well, the last couple turns were really good, but this last turn was just phenomenal. So the Germans they needed 9 victory points to win, 8 for a draw. 7 or less was a loss. Okay? The automatic victory thing about Xing the units off the victory conditions, the victory condition objective, which was Tabesa, that never came to fruition. That was just not going to happen. So it had to be victory locations. And the victory locations to be taken had to be, drop this thing down here. See that town right there, Sabaitla, says either. Okay, so it either had to be a victory hex that said either, or a victory point hex that said Tabesa, which is, if we look over here in the south, this one said Tabesa. All right, so it had to say either or Tabesa, and we had to get 9 as the Germans to win, 7 or less as the Allies to win, and an 8 was a draw. So let's clean up the things that never changed through the game. All right. Once, and I'm not sure if it was a good thing or not, probably should have destroyed them or tried really hard to destroy them. We kept CCA from First Armored tied up, although they maintained quite a bit of their strength still and even got some stuff repaired, which is interesting in this game. I guess because the desert's so fast, supplies or things could find the units. So was it more of a question of shoot tied up CCA or CCA tied up shoot? And we'll make that decision here when we get done. Lang, Camp Group of Lang, just rocked it up here on the North Road, tying up a combat command, 34th Infantry Division, and the 1st Guards, the Brits. And actually, they put quite a punishment on them. The 34th and the Guards both tried to attack Lang, but Lang's units were just, your dice rolls too, but Lang's units were just too tough. And as you can see, these two 8-8 American units, well, they failed activation, and then they rolled, attempted a second one, and they failed again. Had to try. I couldn't just take a fatigue. But, I mean, look at their fatigue. They're starting with a 3 anyhow. So the odds, and this is a common theme on this last turn, all right? Now, you'll notice I didn't even activate Lang. Didn't have to, because there's nothing they can do and the game's over. Because there was no way they were going to recover that distance all the way back over. And then it would give them the first, even if they moved them out to try to help out in the attack through the Kasserine Pass, the guards, the 1st Guards, would have been able to activate. And if they would have gotten one full activation, they would have been easily able to run down here and take this city or this village. So really nothing to do there. All right, in the middle, all right, they still own Kasserine, or the Axis did take Kasserine, and they actually took, what the hell the name that thing is Borjashambi, or whatever it's called. They took that one, okay? And that was a hard fight. As a matter of fact, Camp Group of Rhyme, the one that has the heavy shock Tiger unit, got eliminated. Got a both loss result in an engagement with the 2nd Lotharian, I guess it's called, or whatever they are, armored battalion from the Task Force Nick, Task Force Nick, the Brits. So they did their job. They did give up that location, but they held on to this one here. As you can see, the Germans tried to go up there and attack, but they failed tremendously. Okay, they still own Thalep right here. They took this, whatever this town is called, doesn't even have a name. They took that pass right there. That was a couple turns ago. And they took the victory, the entry location A victory over here. They just took that in the last turn because the 1st Infantry, they shot their wad trying to disrupt Kampfgruppe Stankoff, and they failed. They just weren't strong enough to deal with that. So then it was, okay, let's get Stankoff. He's free now. 1st Infantry can't do anything to stop him. So what happened was, right here, 1st Infantry had some units here, so they had to be knocked away. And they did. They got knocked away. And the recon unit was sitting here. He didn't have to do anything, so he was free to move. So they got a full activation, and off he went. They owned this hex. Whoops, sorry. When the turn started, the Germans owned this hex. So Stankoff ran off up here, grabbed this one, and they were going to hope to get an activation. Even a partial, I think, would have done it, because he ended up here. He only needed to move 8. It was 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He could have got in there. They freaking failed. So nobody could get there to take that victory location. I said, okay, well, that sucks. Let's do some reevaluating. And we looked at DAC. And DAC, which started down here on the road, if they got 2 full activations, they could get in here and attack. Can you guess what happened? They got 1 full activation, and then they failed their second one. And once that one was failed, there was no possibility of the Germans taking any more victory conditions. So let's look around the map. Get my cami straight up here. All right, so the Germans have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is an Allied victory by 1 point. 1 more point, it would have been a draw. And pretty much when the turn started, the intention was to, I had that one with the Germans, was to take that one up there. And quite possibly, if they'd have gotten a full activation, he could have gone, that recon unit could have gone there and there. And then if they don't lose anything, the Germans would have won with 9 victory locations with 9 points. But the Allies were staunch. 1st Infantry Division, even though they didn't do much to the Axis, they did throw a rock in their river up here and really, really, really delayed them. Task Force Stark, I'm going to say, is the hero. He's down to 1 unit left, but he just, from Kasserine into the pass, Stark did everything they could with some good die rolls on defense or whatever to slow down, 2 Kampfgruppes? And actually had DAC up there for a little while, so pretty much almost 3 Kampfgruppes. And then Task Force Nick, they gave up this spot down here, but they held their ground there. And then they were able to shoot across and take that victory location back from the Axis. 34th Infantry Division and 1st Guards, I don't know, they were just pretty much a bruise because they really didn't do much to the Germans, but they did manage to keep Task Force Lang tied up. All right, so the game ends in a Allied victory, and I don't know much about Tunisia, but or Kasserine? I don't know. Every time I think about Kasserine, I think about the movie Big Red One. I've never really read much about this part of the desert operations. Maybe I should, or North Africa. Maybe I should get into that and read that. But this last turn I just played within an hour was just so freaking exciting, and attempting to do everything from both sides to either attain victory or stop the Axis from attaining victory and try to attain a victory for the Allies, and it ended up being the Allies. So there you have it. What is it, 10-turn game campaign? Not hard to play. Not a lot of counters on this board, but you're spread out over the map. And the cool rule is that victory condition chit draw on the 6th turn. November or February 19th, and you don't really know what your objective is. And like I say, if you happen to be focused, it kind of prevents you from focusing in different direction or in one direction. Yeah, you can risk it and try it, and then if you draw the wrong chit, it's done. And I wanted to go over an interesting rule here because I don't know if, I think I've got this right, but see if I can't talk to you about this one here. So let's say that, we'll take Stark. Okay. Task Force Stark right here. He has one unit, okay, on the map. All right. And let's say that he has, let's say he has a reinforcement. Let's say this engineer unit's going to be coming on 2 game turns from the current game turn. And Task Force Stark, this last unit gets destroyed. All right, this is formation destruction. So what happens is the entire task force, the headquarters and everything, because that guy gets destroyed and the combat trains, they come off the map, okay? But they can come back on with that reinforcement. Or let's say that this infantry unit gets in a fight and he has to retreat back to his headquarters, and his headquarters refuge, and he can't do it, so he goes over on the, let's turn it this way and move these up here. And he goes over here to the turn record track for the next turn where he'll come back on. All right. They're eliminated. So, and let's say that this reinforcement doesn't come on till down here on the 22nd. All right. So Stark would be eliminated off the map with a formation destruction. But the minute that reinforcement comes into the game, he comes back, and the unit at whatever status he was that couldn't get to headquarters refuge, he comes back on too, along with the combat trains. And I believe it says the combat trains come back on their non-ghost side, so like on their full side. So just keep that in mind. Check the rules to make sure I got it right. I had to read it 2 or 3 times to make sure, because I couldn't figure out, well, when do I remove a headquarters when all their units are gone? But I see that they have units to come back in, or they had reinforcements, or they didn't have reinforcements. I wasn't sure what to do, so I had to read that thing 3 or 4 times, and that's the conclusion I came up with. So, all right. Battalion Combat Series, Baptism by Fire, the campaign game. Loving the system. Debating whether I'm going to set Brazen Chariots up next. Brazen Chariots will probably be the next one I play. Maybe I play something a little simpler here, just to kick out another game. I got a few of them that I want to get on and take a look at. But Baptism by Fire, Battalion Combat Series from Multiman Publications. Kasserine in February of 43. Great game. Lots of fun. A lot of people say it's just simple, but I tell you what, I think it's a great game to learn with. The little 4-turn scenario they have, Operation Springwood's a great scenario to learn with. And like I say, the counter density is not very massive, but you are fighting a rather large operation on a very spread front. All right, let's get this thing posted. Hope you all enjoyed my little notes and ticks on this thing, and we'll see you all here soon. Talk to you later.